Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a great week. The last couple weeks I've been booking an awful lot of Alaskan cruises and inquiries for Alaska, especially even for as far out as 2020, because Alaska cruises sell out so quickly and are so popular. If you want the right cabin on the right side of the ship for your sailing that you're taking, you want to book as early as possible. And I'm going to tell you some of the differences of what you can expect between an Alaskan cruise and someone who's, say, only been to the Caribbean, because they're completely different experiences. And I'm going to tell you about it right after this. So one of the first things you'll notice between the Caribbean and Alaska is the price. There are so many cruises going to the Caribbean. Some of them are 3-day, 4-day, 5-day, 7-day, etc. They can go to different islands depending on which islands you go to. The cruise can be a lot cheaper. Going to Jamaica is more expensive than going to St. Martin. So you can always find different price range, and that's why it's a very, very popular cruise. People just want to go for sun and relax, and you can find a cruise there all year round. Alaska is completely different. The cruising season for Alaska starts in late May, early April, depending on the cruise line, and goes no later than September. So you have a much shorter window. So when you're looking at an Alaskan cruise, expect to pay more. And also, they are very popular. They can, if they announce a cruise for 2020, almost 2 years out, people start booking it right away, because they know if you want to get on the side of the ship that you want for the best views of the Alaskan glaciers and the mountains, you have to book early because they will sell out. The second thing you're going to notice is it's a much more laid-back cruise. In the Caribbean, you can have parties late at night. They're going to have deck dance parties all the time, DJs playing and everything, all that. On an Alaskan cruise, it's going to be much more subdued. First of all, there's noise regulations in Alaska. They can't go blaring music real loud on the decks because the environmental agencies don't allow it. Also, the ships have to be environmentally sound and are checked regularly because it's a very protected area and they want to make sure it's as pristine as possible. So it's not going to be a party ship. The people on board tend to be a little older, a lot more relaxed, a lot less formal, and just want to go for the views. And that being said, the number 3 thing you should expect, first of all, when you're choosing your ship, you're not going to Alaska for the ship like you might in the Caribbean. If you're going to the Caribbean, you might have been there before, all the towns kind of seem the same to you. I'm going to go on an Oasis class ship because there's so much to do on it. That is not the way you pick a ship for Alaska. For instance, the Norwegian Bliss is the brand new largest ship sailing to Alaska this year. It's a gorgeous ship. But if you look at the top decks of the Bliss, you have huge water park areas, you have the go-kart area, which leaves a lot less room on the top decks for viewing the glaciers and viewing the surrounding sceneries. That is not what you want when you're going to Alaska. It's a nice ship, it's a brand new ship, it's going to be gorgeous, but I don't know if I would want to go to Alaska on it, just because unless I have a balcony that I can enjoy the views by myself, it might get a little crowded on a large ship with limited top deck space. So you really want to choose a ship that has a lot of open deck space. And as you can see, all these people are on the decks to see the views of Alaska, and that's why you're taking an Alaskan cruise. So make sure you're looking at ships with lots of open space up top, and if you can, get yourself that balcony. Another thing to expect in Alaska, shore excursions are going to be expensive. But you know what? They're worth it, because most shore excursions are like shore excursions you can't do anywhere else. You can't take a helicopter and land on a glacier in the Caribbean. You can't take a dog sled tour around Alaska. You can't go ATVing in the back of Alaskan mountains and sides. You can't take a train through the mountainsides of the views of Alaska. Those places just don't exist in one area like they do in Alaska. So keep that in mind. They're going to be expensive, but they are worth it. You have to know that you're going to relax. Don't overdo your bookings, because a lot of people, especially their first time going to Alaska, they want to see everything, and they end up not enjoying their cruise as much as they should have. Pick one or two things that you really want to do, book those and do those, and leave time for spontaneity while you're on your cruise, because nothing is worse than trying to cram everything in and getting a little bit of everything, but not the best of what you wanted to do. So learn to relax. Alaska is very calm. It's very tranquil. The people are there also to relax. It's not partying. So don't overbook things to do, because you'll just come back exhausted and you'll think, well, I wish I would have spent a little more time doing this. The weather. The weather in Alaska is completely unpredictable. So it can be 80 degrees in the afternoon, and by 4 o'clock it can be snowing. So bring an abundance of clothes for all types of weather, and bring a backpack with you that you can carry some clothes to change if the weather changes while you're out touring the town or while you're on an excursion. There's nothing worse than saying, oh, it's 80-degree weather, it's beautiful, and you dress in a t-shirt and some jeans and you head out on this tour, and 3.5 hours later it drops down 30 degrees and starts to snow and you're there in a t-shirt. So bring something so you're dressed appropriate. The weather will change, and yes, chances are if you're there for 7 days, you're going to have at least one day where you're going to experience some rain, because it's Alaska, folks. It's going to rain. You're on the ocean. It's going to rain. It's not like California. There's a lot more moisture up in that direction, up north, than there is down south. So bring a lots of change of clothes and appropriate footwear for whatever you're doing. Once you leave Vancouver until your final destination, the towns you're going to visit are not huge metropolises. It's not like Boston and New York. You're not going to see huge skyscrapers. They're small towns. Think backwoods is what you should think. They're going to have amenities. You're going to get great food. You're going to get the freshest food probably you're ever going to eat, especially if you love seafood. But it's a real homey kind of backwoods. You have modern amenities, but they're not huge metropolises. It's not going to take you 6 hours to walk around town. They're not that big. So if you're thinking of taking like a bus tour around a town to see it, you could probably walk it just as easy. So the towns are not huge, but they're very fun, and it just kind of brings you back to the gold rush days when you're walking through them. So expect smaller towns on your trip. And quickly, lastly, your camera. No matter what camera you're using, whether it's a good Canon D80 or you're just bringing a quick point and shoot camera, a GoPro, or your phone, you're going to be taking tons of pictures. You're probably going to have that camera in your face almost more than you're looking at what you're doing, because especially if it's your first time, it's so breathtaking when you go to Alaska and you wake up your first morning and you're heading through the Inside Passage and you look out and you see the mountains and the snow caps. It is breathtaking, and you will just start snap, 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 snap. So my advice to you is make sure you have lots of memory cards and chargers and batteries for your cameras and cell phones. Even if you have a 65 gig memory card for your phone, you can fill that up within a day pretty quickly on an Alaskan cruise, especially once you start doing some like helicopter rides and things like that, or whale watching. It yeah, bring extra memory cards, or at least have an ability to download it each night into, say, a laptop, so you don't lose your photos and you don't get out there and see a whole pod of killer whales going by, and you bring up your camera and you start clicking and it beep out of memory. Oh boy, will you be disappointed. So those are just some quick things, differences between a Caribbean cruise and an Alaskan cruise. Less party, more laid back, more expensive than cheaper, but breathtaking views, completely different cruise. You won't be disappointed going to Alaska, you know, unless it rains and snows for 7 days, but I can't help that, but that can happen anywhere, right? So hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. You want to see more cruising tips, more travel around the world, more vlogs, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.